This is the Recovery Lab. Here we dive deep into the struggles, victories, and hope that stem from recovery.
No shame, no judgment, just truth, grace, and inspiration.
Let's walk this road together. All right. Welcome back to Recovery Lab. This is episode 105. I'm David Sugg.
And I'm Brynn Knox.
All right. We are here to get back into recovery talk and talk about what's been happening in the recovery world and in our lives. And I'm super, super pumped to have Brynn Knox with us. Brynn, I listened to your episode 29 and it was amazing. Some of the stuff you've been through, to learn about Jax and learn about some of the trauma stuff that has happened to you and just like miracles. Now I'm sitting here now and I see your weathered, amazing big book. So I know you're going to bring it. I know you've got a story to tell about pre-sobriety and now what sobriety is. So thanks for joining us. Thanks a lot.
Well, thanks for having me. It's good to be back.
Yeah. Before we get started, you want to lead us in a prayer? Just
Yes.
God direct this? Let's do it.
Yes. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for bringing us here today. And just as three people in recovery, three people you've saved from that brokenness. And so I ask you, please just guide our words today and guide our hearts. And I hope that you shine through us because you are the star here and we're just the vessels that you've used. God, we're just some beggars telling other beggars where we found bread. And I hope that whoever needed to hear this today takes it in. We love you so much. Thank you for our sobriety. And thank you for our lives and all the blessings you've given us since then. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen. Awesome. What's been happening since last time you were on?
What's been happening? Let's see. I can't remember if I already had Briggs or not last time I was here. I think I did.
You're pregnant.
Okay, but which baby?
Oh, I don't remember.
You just had one. I think you just had Briggs.
Okay. And then so I was pregnant with Dylan last time I was here. So I have my 2-year-old and then my little girl's 1-year-old. And so I've been super busy doing all that mom stuff. Yeah. I am still a peer support specialist at UMC. I work for a grant there. It's called CIDA Horizon, CIDA. It's Center for Innovation and Discovery in Addiction. And so we have a grant there. It actually ends in September, but we've been offering like free resources for people who come into the hospital and struggle with addiction and just don't have insurance or don't have anywhere to go or anything to do. And that's definitely been rewarding. It's been frustrating. It's frustrating having like hands tied in so many like red tape situations where you just want to get people help. And for some reason, you can't get them into a treatment center.
What kind of red tape?
So much of it. Very specific things you can spend money on and can't spend money on, but you need to be spending the money so they know that you're using your money. And I don't know, it's just a bunch. I've seen a side of some things where I'm like, that's stupid.
Is that par for the course in grant world? They want to see you do certain things. Is that the grants that are setting the red tape or is it other stuff you're having issues with?
I believe it's the grants, but I don't want to speak on things that I don't know too much about. I'm just the peer support specialist in it. And I just know that I've wanted so badly to get someone into treatment. Okay. For instance, we get a lot of homeless people that come in and they need help very bad. And sometimes you can't tell if they just want a place to stay or if they want to get sober. But I don't care. I want to get them somewhere where they can get sober and they can stay there. And I can't get them there because they get released from the hospital and I have no way to get a hold of them. And it's such a hard thing to do to be able to get them door to door. If I send them back out, we're not going to see them again until next time they come into the hospital.
Yeah.
And so it's stuff like that's been really hard to just sit back and watch. It'd be great if we could get someone in the hospital that's struggling, needs help, and get them straight to the help.
Yeah, find a place that they fit, their insurance, so that everybody's happy saying, yes, come on, and finding that door of willingness at the same time with the client is like really tough to get them into. I think that's for everybody who's doing like an interventionist type job, getting the person where they can go.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So most of these people, Jacksonians, Mississippians, are all from around here, ended up at UMC.
They need to be to be able to be a part of the grant, they have to be Mississippians.
Okay.
We do have a couple different, not departments, but things that we do within the grant where some of it's telehealth. And so we have a bunch of people on the coast and North Mississippi and stuff like that. But once this grant ends, September 30th, He's not going to have a single peer support specialist. And that's crazy.
Yeah.
And so we've been trying to figure out who to talk to in the hospital because it's so big and there's so many people in charge. And so it's hard to know like where to go. But there have been a few doctors. There's been we do a lot of work in the psychiatric unit that are like, we need you guys because the social workers are so overwhelmed with so many things. And to have a peer support specialist there that can just talk to these patients about recovery and about addiction, like what we specialize in, that takes so much off of them. And so it's really important. It's really necessary. And I'm hoping the higher ups at UMC can see that.
Yeah.
And bring some peer support specialists in.
Yeah. How'd you end up over there?
Indeed.
Okay.
Yeah.
God called me to that website.
Right.
Put it up there.
Yeah. Do you feel like your recovery life and your work life, do they merge well together? Or do you have a hard time kind of making your recovery? A lot of times people that work into the recovery, they don't take care of themselves a whole lot. They don't get to a whole lot of meetings because they're always talking about the steps. They're always talking about a program of action. And so they don't necessarily get to as many sponsor meetings or AA meetings that they need to get to. Are you able to balance that, or has it been a struggle for you?
Full transparency, I struggle with it.
Yeah.
I want to come on here and say, no, I'm perfectly balanced.
Yeah.
But no, I struggle with it. I am doing these things at work. And so I not necessarily check that box, but I think that also I've struggled in the last couple years with doing all the things that I used to feel like that I still feel like are the requirements, but I've slacked a little bit. I feel like in the last couple years, I definitely have gone to less AA meetings than I was doing, especially when I lived in Austin. And someone at my meeting was just talking about that the other day. He's great and he has a lot of sobriety. And he was sharing about how people come in there and he's seen so many people come and go, and people come in there and they'll complain and say, it's just not the same recovery as the recovery I'm used to back. So, and as he's talking, I'm like, that is me. That's exactly me. And I felt so, because that's what I've always said is it's not the same as Austin. It's not the same as Austin. And I missed that recovery there, but I felt a little convicted in that moment. And I still go. I still go a couple of times a week, but I used to be an everydayer. And
did they keep going with the Austin pop-up? Is that still happening?
Austin pop-up.
Yeah.
No, it's not still happening.
Backstory for people who didn't listen to 29.
So when COVID hit and the doors of AA closed, me and my girlfriend, Mercedes, we left our meeting at Allendale. We went to a Mexican restaurant and we were like, what are we going to do now? You know what I mean? What are we going to do? These rooms were our safe haven. And another man in our group, Bob, he decided to just hold a meeting in the parking lot the next day in case anyone needed it. And we were like, we went and it was great. And we were like, we need to keep this going. And so me and Mercedes just teamed up and just held these random pop-up meetings all over Austin. And we had this like secret Facebook group that you could join, and we'd announce where the meeting was going to be. And so we'd be meeting up all over the place and be like on the lookout for the cops and stuff like that. Cause there was like more than 10 gathered. And it was so amazing. All these people just fighting for their life.
Yeah.
In recovery. And I don't know, it's just, I'll never forget those times. And when you guys had sent me those questions yesterday and I was looking over them and it was talking about when did you first feel like your voice mattered? And then when did you feel like you finally became who you're supposed to be? It was those moments where I became a leader that I was always meant to be.
Isn't it like that in like moments of deep service? And that's what makes service work so good for me is like I stop thinking about myself and I really feel like, well, this is the guy I'm supposed to be. All the other stuff has just been leading up to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So COVID hit. My wife and I did something very similar. We ran to Zoom. We're like, the rooms were shutting down. So we started up a meeting called Hodgepodge. And we called some friends, got some meetings going. It's still going on today. Some other people just basically kept it going because people got sober on that meeting and have never been to like any in-person meetings. Cause like rural Mississippi, you live out in Corinth or Summerall or wherever.
Yeah.
You might not be getting, anyways, they got sober on Hodgepodge and they're still doing it.
No way.
Yeah, 5 years later. In fact, one of the ladies got sober on Hodgepodge and then came and she just picked up a 5-year chip came and spoke at one of my wife's sober living houses and was just like, I got sober with Rachel 5 years ago on the internet. And that was the first time I've met her. I'm 5 years sober. It was just like seeing God do those things, like seeing that story unfold, like it just gives me chills now thinking about it.
Me too.
So, yeah.
That's crazy. Is there a way you can include the link to that meeting somewhere?
Yeah.
Okay. We have a lot of people in really rural areas of Mississippi. And when I'm looking on my AA meeting apps trying to go, I'm like, I know you don't have a car, but can you somehow get 28 miles away to this place?
Yeah, I used to throw a lot of shade on people who were talking about, because online meetings aren't new. People were like doing that primarily. I used to phone call meetings. People used to like the letters, meetings by letters, that kind of stuff. I used to kind of, you need to get to an in-person meeting, but now realizing that people just don't always have that option. They don't have it. And being able to sit down with like 10 or 15 people on a Zoom type meeting that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. There's real connectivity going on.
There's a lot of value in it.
It's huge. Yeah, and you still do the Dallas meeting, huh?
Every day.
Yeah, every day. You can't fly to Dallas every day, dude. But you can zoom in there.
We've got an audio alchemy jet, bro. Come on.
Yeah. Very cool. So I see your weathered big book. I love seeing a big book like that. That's not a big book that somebody got, worked 2 steps, and then put on their shelf. That's a big book that somebody's loved on, has spent time. Hold it up for everybody to see. Look at that. Oh, yeah. God save the girl. Yeah. That's cool.
Thank you.
That's your OG from Austin? That's your okay.
Yeah.
What's up?
It's got some good stuff in there.
Yeah.
I think that this book absolutely saved my life. It's funny when I'm talking to people that aren't familiar with recovery and stuff like that, and I'll talk about the big book. They're like, what are you talking about? Like, what is the big book? And I'm just like, it's every word in here saved my life. And so I'll never forget that. I'll never forget the impact it had on me. And it's almost when you read the Bible and depending on, it could be like the same verses you've read so many times, but depending on where you're at in your life in that moment, it's like you hear something new or you get like a new perspective on it. That's the same thing with this book. It'll always stick with me.
Yeah, sit in a meeting sometimes and have somebody else read the same line you've read 100 times, just the way they articulated or enunciated a certain thing. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's like new revelations being made with the same text. That's cool.
Yeah, I always try to carry it with me to meetings or to things like this because it helps me remember that if I'm trying to offer like any solution, anything, a solution, like, and I'm showing up empty-handed, it makes me feel like I am the solution. You know what I mean? Like I can get into that. And so I was always taught to always have it with me so I can read from it or pull things from it as necessary in those moments until I can get the whole thing memorized.
Yeah, I used to think old timers were like being just kind of like a jackass, and they'd hit you with the same 3 answers. Did you pray about it? Did you inventory it? Have you found anybody to help you? Like, dude, you don't have anything better to say than like those 3 things. And now, like, I realize, no, that's the deal because I've got caught up at times. I want to give advice.
Yeah,
I'm like, here's what I would do. Here's what I would do. That's not a chapter in the book. Here's what David would do. It's not in there.
It should be.
And I've got some great ideas, but I've sent people on some wild goose chases, you know, giving them work advice, giving them marital advice, giving them like, here's what you do for your kid. Like, I have no freaking idea. That's now I realize, like, have you inventoried it? Have you prayed about it? Have you found somebody to help? And that's really the 3 things over and over again. If we do that stuff, God normally makes a way for all these things or just takes the problem away.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. I get real caught up in trying to, I feel like I just have so much good advice.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am so smart. So I have to constantly remember to not be that way.
Yeah.
I just know everything.
Good. I was in a meeting the other day and we were talking about how many meetings do you got to get to. And I shared about 1 to 2 meetings a week. I'm crazy. Like my wife and I can't even sit over dinner without getting in an argument. About 3 to 4 meetings a week, we can sit at dinner without arguing, but I'm not really doing a whole lot better than that. But about 5 to 6 meetings a week, I'm actually like, I'm good. I'm doing some growth. I've got to get, for me personally, like, he doesn't have to go that many meetings. She goes maybe 1 or 2 a week, is good, happy all the time. She's just got a different disposition. Me, I say the sick ones stay. The sick one's got to go every day. And I'm a sick one. I got to go all the time. You're going to what, 2 or 3 a week? Is that some sponsees? You see the same community there or what?
I usually go to the same meeting, but there was this meeting that I was going to, this women's meeting on Saturday mornings that I really enjoyed. And I stopped going when we moved from Madison over to Brandon.
Where was that?
It's at Mansdale.
Okay.
There's a women's meeting there on Saturday mornings, I believe at 9. I love a women's meeting. Yeah. Like it's my favorite type of meeting. And I really enjoyed it when I was going. And then I just got out of the habit since we moved back over there's 45 minutes away, and we have 2 babies, and my husband's like, "Where are you going?" Yeah.
Yeah.
What time are you gonna be home?
Is that Chapel of the Cross?
Yeah, Chapel of the Cross.
Beautiful. What a beautiful. Just going out there feels spiritual.
It's really
Just like
cool.
cruising up, and it's like amazing.
Yeah, and they have a meeting on Sunday nights too at 6. That's not just a women's meeting, it's just a regular meeting, and it was really good too. I used to live right down the street from there, and so that was a good meeting to go to.
Yeah.
I wish we had more in Rankin County.
There.
Got a lot.
I know there was
Jaywalkers. Yeah.
Yep.
that's on Grants Ferry, that church there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one on Spillway across from the River of Life Church.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Drew went there about a year ago.
Is there some Celebrate out there? Some Celebrate Recovery out in Rankin County? Have you seen it? I feel like
Not that I know of, but I feel like Celebrate Recovery is really difficult to find.
really. Have you ever done any?
No. And I wanted to, and I was looking into it, like Googling and all that kind of stuff, trying to find a place. And maybe I'm just stupid, but
They've got one at Trinity Wesleyan. Oh, no, it's not. Yeah, they have one at Trinity Wesleyan Church in Byram, and then there's another one at the Point Church, I believe on Thursdays on Star Road, kind of way down there in Brandon. Yeah.
I've been to a couple of them. There are some that have a few people that are consistent and going to those meetings and stuff. Not a lot of women and that I've met, but I don't know, I could be going the wrong day or something. But I would love a big meeting out in Rankin County that has a consistent community. And I don't know, there's probably like people that live in Rankin County and go to the meetings and you're like, she's an idiot.
We're all over the place.
We got something going on over here. She don't know what she's talking about.
Yeah.
Call me. Call me. I'll come hang out. But yeah, did you say your wife had sober living houses? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Where's her sober living houses?
Fondren Recovery Homes is in the Fondren area.
Okay.
So we planted it there pretty much because we're going to be around 12-step meetings, lots of transportation, lots of jobs. So just the Fondren neighborhood is perfect for that.
That really is perfect for it. Yeah, I listened to your episode you guys just did with, what's her name, Emma?
Yeah.
Was that her name? She was great.
Definitely.
And that's exciting what she's trying to do for Yana.
Yeah. It's hard just because Jackson's got that inner city vibe, and it's got the infrastructure for it. It's got some of the old clubhouses and some of the old members. It's all there, but it's also just got the inner city woes. You know what I'm saying? So it's like people don't want to necessarily always go there after dark. They don't want to do a lot. They don't want to hang out. And so it's difficult to get in at 5:30 when the meetings are happening or at night. But Yana's there. It's got two or three big meetings a day, a bunch of other meetings. People are showing up for the recovery homes from all over Mississippi. You know, because if you live like we're talking about in small town, wherever, they don't have sober living homes. They just don't have it. And so we're getting people from all over Mississippi that are showing up looking to find safe, affordable, sober living near 12-step meetings. There's a big need for it, and she's done well with it. It's been been really cool.
Good for her.
She works really hard. Sunday's a big work day for her. She's going to go check in on all the women. I think we got maybe 35 women. Okay. So she's going to go to 5 different houses and go spend anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour at each one. You talk about issues, seeing what's going on, doing a house meeting. Yeah. And that's her Sunday. It's a lot of work. And then throughout the week, the phone's always dinging and ringing, people coming in, leaving, going out. So it's good, but we're still trying to figure it out.
It's a fun job.
It is. We got a bunch of people that work with us. But it is
I was going to ask if she has a good bit of help.
So we have a lady, Tanya Stevens, she was a peer support specialist years ago. She worked in the counseling field, did some stuff, and then got out of it for about 10 years. And now she's working with us, and she handles the women. Funny thing about the women is if I were to bump into some of the girls, I don't mess with the women. We don't talk to them. Yeah. Not just because we'd let them do their thing. Rachel and Tanya talk to them, deal with them. We have men's houses. I interact with the guys. Yeah. But they're completely separate. So Tanya and Rachel rock that out, and they have their own kind of systems and processes for dealing with issues. And then Chris Graves and I handle the men. It's a little different. We found that the men are a little more transient. They'll come in like, all right, I'm out. I'm ready to go. The women tend to nest. They really do. They want to get somewhere comfortable. They want to get to know everybody. They want to just,
we're smarter and we know.
No doubt. You know, guys are idiots.
They're such idiots. Yeah, bro, I'm good to go. Sit down.
I wish you were lying,
Yeah. But it's cool to be able to mix work and what we love. Recovery for me it really is the biggest part of my life. Yeah. Like coming out of the penitentiary and then and having absolutely nothing and be able to go to some meetings, meet some people and have everything just unfold into not just an okay life, but a full, like the robust, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah. When y'all sent me these questions that y'all send to your guests, like just trying to get some know some things about them. And one of them was talking about, what outside of work are you passionate about? And I'm just sitting there on my couch. I'm like, what do I love? Figure it out. I really like reading.
As the baby's crying and you're trying to handle get dinner ready.
No. I'm like, Gage, get the kid. No, I was like, there are things that I enjoy a lot, but nothing like recovery and just that whole world of it. It's like when I got sober and when I started working in treatment, I've never gotten that feeling from anything else I've done before. And it like all finally made sense. And so I think that's why when I moved here abruptly and left the treatment world, like the residential treatment and stuff like that, I was just like, what do I do now? You know what I mean? And I think I'm still I want to go back to working in treatment so bad. I loved it. I loved the residential aspect of it. I loved just being there I was telling you guys how I wanted to leave pretty much 5 out of 7 days a week. I just wanted to give up. And if it wasn't for just the RCAs that work there, that are with us from our day-to-day activities, if it wasn't for them and the women around me, like, I wouldn't have made it. And so just to be that for someone else is just, that's all I want to do. I don't know. I just loved it.
I've seen the recovery community, the recovery kind of vocational side of life just really blossom. And I'm not sure if it's just because my attention's been brought to it more.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody I bump into is worked either in business to business development or their peer support or their work. Like Define and Wellness moved into town, I don't know, 4 years and just started hiring everybody. Like, I mean, I just like going to AA meetings. People were in Define and Wellness shirts. What do you do there? So you got people working in the grounds. I've had so many friends working there.
Yeah.
You say when you want to work in the recovery world, what is it specifically you'd like to do, or where do you want to get into?
Honestly, I really wanted to be a counselor. Okay. And one of your other questions is talking about do you have a fear of failure or whatever? And I totally failed at that. I like registered and I started my class, and literally 8 days later, I was like, I can't do this. I can't do it. It was like I had this huge long paper due in this specific format and all this like all these kind of things. And I haven't been in school in 20 years and just had a baby and I'm hormonal and like all these things. And I was just like, I want to die. Like I want to not exist right now because that's how much that's how hard this is for me. And that was really humbling in that moment of having to withdraw. Because before I was like, I'm going to be a counselor and this is what I'm meant to do and all this kind of stuff. And I really had a hard time with those classes and I felt so stupid. I couldn't do it. And maybe it was just the timing, but I failed at that. And so, so I wanted to be a counselor, but really, honestly, it's just the getting to hang out, like getting to talk to the residents there and provide that hope and get them to get up, get dressed, let's do this day. You know what I mean? Like I like that sort of nurturing aspect of it with a little also just kick them in the ass and get them going.
Yeah.
The tough love mama.
Yeah. I feel like most people that think they want to get in the treatment world, they immediately go there, counselor, because that's what we all think of and do. And beyond my 8th grade education, I went to a semester and a half of junior college. I'm like, I can't do this. This is insane. I was working all the time, cutting grass, working in a restaurant, trying to say it was just overwhelmed. It wasn't going to happen. School's never been a strong point. But like for me to think about, okay, I want to work in the recovery world. I'm going to go back and get undergrad and then finish up, get some count. That's just not going to happen. But fast forward, I don't really want to do that. Like that's not what I want to do. I like to work with my hand. I like to work on houses. That's my thing. I like to find deals and then I can turn them over to my wife and we're getting to do recovery house stuff. I get to work with some of the guys when guys are looking for work. I get to carry in the meetings. I get to talk to them. I get to use my experience as an alcoholic to really help them out, but I'm not in there. I'm like, so tell me about the shadow. You know, I mean, that's not me. That's not what I want to do. And so it's been really cool that I was able to postpone instead of just like following the same old, here's what everybody's doing. Here's what I ought to do. Because honestly, I think I'd be miserable in that spot, like working for the man.
Yeah.
Like back in a hospital or something. Like, because I meet a lot of those guys that just bail. They just leave. So I'm not saying I super appreciate everybody who has committed to that work, because it's definitely needed, but it was not for me. And I'm glad I didn't like beat myself up. I've got to do this because I would not have. That's not me. I don't want to be a therapist.
That's so good to hear that. Like that someone else had those thoughts too. It was a very like humbling experience. And it's so true that all these different roles are so important. You know what I mean? It's not just the counselor role. And I do think I would enjoy it. And I love when I was living in Austin, it was a different thing you could do. Is called a licensed chemical dependency counselor, an LCDC. And I got that. I went to the classes and took the courses and all that kind of stuff. And I completed that. And I was like very proud of myself. So I was like on my way to doing this counselor role. And then you move to Mississippi and it's, we don't have that here. What? I just got this whole thing. And so it's kind of, counseling's tricky because it's so different from state to state. You know what I mean? And different qualifications and different courses. I don't know. And so hopefully that field gets a little bigger and a little more unified to where you can do it there and do it here. And it's not these completely different, turn your life upside down and pay $50,000 to go to this school because you didn't have that. Yeah, I think when I withdrew and my husband was like, oh, so we're not going to have to pay all that tuition over the next school year. Perfect. This was a good decision. Like, he was very supportive.
Yeah. So tell me, you said the recovery here is different than in Austin. And I obviously get Austin. I lived out in Marble Falls, Texas for 4 years. Yeah. So we'd bounce into Austin on the weekends, hang out 6th Street, listen to music, do stuff. Really enjoyed it. And to say that it's different, that's like saying that Mars and Earth is different. It's a different planet. I get it. But what have you found that you've really enjoyed about the local recovery here?
Nothing. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No, the meeting that I go to, the noon meeting I usually go to, and they also meet on Saturdays. They have a great community in that meeting, and they have such good sobriety. And they do something for the women. Will get together every, I think, 3rd Wednesday of the month, which I can't do because I lead a small group on Wednesday nights at church. And then every 2nd Saturday they meet at Trace Grill after the meeting with families and stuff. So that I've found a lot of good community in that group. And I just really, it's the closest thing I've found to Austin. And hearing people tell me the truth in that meeting, like my friend said the other day about the people that complain about moving and stuff like that. And it's like those things that I need to hear because I'll get stuck and those people help me get unstuck.
Yeah.
So
when you came back from Austin, did you do the whole like find a home group, get a new sponsor, work the steps again, or did you just, what was the transition like for you? Because when I've moved from place to place, that's always been a really difficult time for me. I've been sober before, but it was like I'd go someplace new and I'd have a really hard time getting involved and really wouldn't work the steps a lot of times. Did you go heavy into the new sponsor?
When I moved here, the reason we came here is because my dad had terminal cancer and I had to take care of him. So a lot of my life when I moved here was taking care of him. And sorry, that's hard to think about, but that was the majority of my life. But I did get excited about trying to find some places here and some meetings here and a home group. I did find a sponsor. I've had a few sponsors.
Were you leaning on your Austin group?
Yeah.
That had to be some tough stuff. You're dealing with pain medication. You're dealing with grief. So you're talking to your Austin group during that time?
Yeah, I was still like with them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I had them and yeah, so I've had a couple sponsors, a couple temporary sponsors because my sponsor that I had in Austin, I was so close to. I was very close to. And she was just the absolute like perfect person for me. She officiated our wedding, like me and my husband. That's how close I was to her. And so leaving her was one of the most difficult things that I've ever had to do. And so I've had a hard time not comparing new sponsorship to my old sponsorship. And it's still a struggle for me. My faith is like a really big deal in my life. And so I've been really active in my church. I go to Pine Lake Reservoir campus and I've been really active there and in some Bible studies and small groups. And I just have a really good group of women around me that I can lean on. And so that if I didn't have that, I probably wouldn't be in a good place just because my meetings I haven't been going as much as I was, which I don't recommend. And I almost like when y'all asked me to come on here, I was like, I don't know if I'm even qualified because I'm not going to my Monday through Friday and all that kind of stuff. But I think that might just be recovery. And there's like highs and lows to it and highs and lows to it. And I'm just in one of those where I'm a couple of meetings a week, but my faith and my involvement in my church is huge to me. And that really plays a part in all of it. Because when I think about it, like, it really is like God at the center of my recovery. You know what I mean? And like when I go into that church on Sunday mornings to worship this God who just completely, it like blows my mind. Like I'll just be like sitting in there and a song will be playing and I'm just like, I can't believe I'm here, like on this earth, like on this planet. And I can't believe I have a husband who's next to me that loves me. And I have these like wonderful kids in the nursery. And I just think about like how broken I was. And it's just incredible, like the healing that has happened. Like I feel so much like freedom from drugs and alcohol. You should have already had those open.
No, Brynn.
No, you got some right there.
Thank you. I just feel like so much like freedom from this thing that was like killing me. And it was just like the heaviest like chains. And I really couldn't imagine like this life without these substances. And I couldn't imagine this life without this just overwhelming depression. And I just don't feel those things anymore. Like he really healed me and he really saved me. And I am an addict and an alcoholic and I always will be. So that's always stuck with me. Just that waking up every day is just so much different. And there's this guy, Tim, that worked at the treatment center that I went through, and he just got his 10 years. And he was talking about how he thought that when he got sober, it was going to be this monotonous grind of just having to resist while everyone else around you gets to have fun. And that's what I thought too. And I was like, I don't want anything to do with that. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm miserable and I'm high all the time, but it's better than that. And it's like, we get to live these full lives today. That's full of also some depression, some anxiety, some this, some that, but it's also full of joy and happiness and gratitude and just getting to be present and getting to be a part of this world. And breathing doesn't feel so hard anymore.
Do you battle with any depression in sobriety?
Yeah, I still do.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things where learning like about like my feelings and all that kind of stuff and like how unimportant they ultimately are because they just pass and then we get new ones and we get paid. I'm not stuck in that like I used to be. And so it's really about taking action to get out of that depression instead of waiting for the depression to go away before I can take any action.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What kind of actions?
Getting up, taking a shower.
Moving.
Yeah.
Imagine that. You're going to sit here and eat more ice cream.
Put the crackers down.
Yeah.
And the Trufers. Have y'all had those Trufers? You know what I'm talking about? They're like these chocolate covered dried strawberries, like freeze dried strawberries. They're so good. Yeah. Sorry, that just came up when I thought about laying in bed eating things.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so much more manageable. And that's another credit given to the place that I went because it truly fundamentally changed who I was as a person. Mm-hmm. Like I could have gotten sober somewhere and stopped drinking and quit those things without learning all these other things. And I would be a pretty like terrible person to be around because I was a terrible person to be around. I was just like sucking all of the like everything out of every room I was in. It was exhausting to be around me. You know what I mean? And it just, so learning all of these things about my behaviors and what serves me and what doesn't serve me and the importance of other people has just, it's wild, like how I can react to situations now versus before.
Was most of that work done with one-on-one therapies, with sponsors, or just like going to meetings and doing this in a lot of different areas? Or was like, where were you getting some of that work done?
We had these program directors and we had this thing called Circle that we had to go to every single day. And it was basically us as a community kind of calling each other out of when you did this last night at dinner or something like this. And then the program directors are around. So you're like, oh God, they're going to find out about that. And then they call you out and talk to you about it in front of all these people.
What was that about?
Yeah.
Brynn, why did you pass the salt to Joni? Yeah. Yeah.
Selfishness and self-centeredness. That is your problem.
Yeah.
No, that just like super high accountability. I couldn't get away with anything and I couldn't manipulate anybody.
Yeah.
And they were talking to my parents. I couldn't manipulate them. And like, I was out of tricks. And so that mixed with one-on-one therapy with my therapist, Kelsey, she was incredible. And then just being a part of a community where I had a responsibility to others around me was just incredible. And I think going to sober living right after that saved my life.
Okay. How long were you in sober living for?
A year.
Okay. In
Yeah.
Austin.
Yeah.
That's where y'all started up the Austin pop-up
Yeah.
stuff? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
What was that house like? I'm sure they're everywhere in Austin. I'm like,
They
the
are
recovery
everywhere.
community is huge. The AA community is huge. The sober living community is
It's huge.
yeah.
And it was great in the sense that like when I got out of treatment, it was like a culture shock to me because I was there for 5 months in treatment, and to all of a sudden leave that environment where it was pretty safe. And you have to do this every morning. You have to do your evening review every night or you'll get in trouble. Like a lot of structure to go into this house where there's some structure, but you're not getting like the gold stars you got in treatment and not getting recognized for all the little things you do. Like I could pass the salt to Joni and nobody would notice. You know what I mean? And for someone who loves validation, especially from like authority figures, that was difficult for me. And so being in this environment and I had a sober coach talking to her about it and her just saying, okay, this is normal. And like, it's normal to feel this way, but what are you going to do about them? Just stick with it. And going through all of that in that sober living environment was so crucial to me staying sober. Like it was so important.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes when you're going through a medical situation, the doctor they start asking you about the frequency or intensity or duration of certain symptoms and certain things. And I know that whenever I've got sober, I think people underestimate like the frequency, intensity, and duration of the recovery stuff they're going to have to do. They're going to have to do this every day, over and over again for a long period of time. And we deal with a lot of guys in the sober living homes. They think they go to a meeting, they go to 90 and 90, and they're like, why is everything not okay? It was like, because you're still up every night playing on your phone.
Yeah.
You're still not finding work. You're still not doing it. Yeah, you went to 90 meetings in 90 days. Kudos. That's it's a good part, but it's so small. Getting to work with a sober coach, getting to live in a sober living home where they're giving you some accountability, but not necessarily all this validation. Like having this transitional period you got some bumpers in the rails, but it's not necessarily holding your hand the whole time. Do you think you might want to do that kind of work? Do you think you might be the sober coach kind of thing? Would you middle ground of being a counselor and being somebody? Do you think that kind of work would interest you?
I think that would be interesting.
Yeah.
I think my top interest would definitely be like working with them when they're still in residential, but being a sober coach of some sort, that I would enjoy that. Just working with women in recovery. I just enjoy that so much. I don't know.
Yeah, we're not seeing that yet here. There's some people doing the sober coach stuff, but it's not nearly as talked about.
It's not really a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out there in Florida and Texas, people that I have coming from those two markets talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen it yet.
Yeah. We'll get there.
It'll happen. It's going to happen. That's the way. Well, especially
2030, baby.
Like with MAT, medically assisted treatment, that was a thing. And you didn't mention that in your story. How'd you stay away from that?
That I was just taught in treatment, it's not the way.
Because you're an IV user.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
It was just a no tolerance for any of that. And that was just drilled into me. And that's something that I've had to, because that's part of the grant that I work for. We do have a section of it that does specifically that. And so it's something that I've had to not necessarily become open-minded about, but more like tolerant of, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have worked for me, but it's just one of those things where I don't know. I just don't love that part.
Yeah, I'm so glad that whenever I got sober, it just wasn't a thing. Because I was such a junkie, such an addict. Like I would have found any reason to not be stone cold sober. Like, give me anything. I don't care what it is. Put me on anything. And that just wasn't an option whenever I came out and whenever I really started getting into recovery. And I'm so grateful for that because what I have is psychic change, spiritual awakening, recovery.
Yeah.
I don't have this like on the fence, like I've got a detox from the detox. I don't have that thing going on.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful, but it's really difficult because now half the people coming out of treatment that we're working with are on some kind of MAT.
Yeah.
And I really don't know how to always relate. I just don't, because it's not my story. It's not my version. I want to be considerate, I want to be helpful. And I understand that there's data backing up that it's saving lives. I get it that we'd rather have people on some kind of MAT than like falling over dead with what we're dealing with. But it's still I just feel like they're settling for a holiday in the ditch when we're out here on the beach. No, come over here.
Exactly.
Just come over here, do this stuff. And all the money is getting pushed into that. All the money is getting pushed into
a lot of money.
It's just, yeah. So that's frustrating. We're trying to figure out as we go, keeping the main thing, but it's difficult.
Yeah.
I'll work with some people sometimes as a sponsor, and I'm just like, are you there? What's up? Are you? And the reality is fully no, they're not. Because as long as I've got a chemical solution to a spiritual problem, I'm still,
that. Yeah.
Kudos to you for being able to get it, but also people, if that is the lifeline they're hanging on to, I'd rather somebody be dealing with that than underground.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that some of the people that I know there's so much fentanyl out there these days that really, it could so very easily be the last second of your life. It could be the last choice you ever make. So it's just so tricky, man. But I agree with everything you just said.
Yeah.
But for me personally, it was
and that was pretty much the treatment center you went through was just like, we're not doing that. Yeah.
Which I'm super grateful for.
Absolutely.
Because I would have just got sucked into that.
Whatever you got.
Anything.
Yeah. Don't make me be sober.
Anything.
Yeah.
I used to hide hydroxyzine, just a little 10 milligram. I used to hide it in my mouth and pull it out, and I would stockpile them in the coat of my robe in my room you see why I needed 5 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I was just so nervous. What if I have anxiety?
What am I going to do?
And this is what is it, like a Benadryl, really? And I like the lowest dosage, but I just had them stockpiled. What if I get really panicked? And what if I need to just numb out and escape? Not that this was going to do it, but it was that mentality of just the tiniest thing. And then finally, after my 5th step, and I was really becoming like the person I was supposed to become. And I went in there to the office and I just put them onto the desk and I was like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Where did this come from? I'm like, I'm sorry. I've been dishonest. Here's these pills. But yeah, so if Suboxone or any of that.
Tell me about that 5th step experience. You did that in treatment. That was a thorough one. Who'd you do that with?
We were actually required to do it 3 times. Yeah. And one of them would be with an outside person that they approve of and brought in that could potentially be a sponsor for us. And 2 of them would be with community members. And it was a really good experience. My husband had he had a different experience than I did. We weren't in treatment together, but we went to the same place. He had an experience in such that literally the next morning at breakfast, everyone could see this huge change in him. He used to be a person that was just shaking all the time and just anxious and all that. And he was just calm. And he talks about it in this way that's very white light experience. And mine was more of it wasn't like that for me. It was good to get all that out.
Yeah.
Who's that guy? The biggest 5th step experience that I had in treatment actually wasn't my 5th step. It was me getting rejected to listen to a 5th step. There was a girl I was in treatment with, and it was time for her 5th step, and they would write down who you're matched with or whatever. And she got matched with me, and she panicked and went to her program director and was like, I don't want to tell it to this girl, because at the time I was still self-harming and I was still just doing some things that I was just doing. I was self-harming, and also I had a touch of bulimia in treatment because someone else had it. And I was like, she's skinny. I'll try this.
Yeah.
Stupid. So anyways, I was a bit of a hot mess. And when I saw how much she didn't want me to be that person to hear all these deepest, darkest things about her, I didn't feel any anger towards her. I felt this overwhelming sense of, do you want to be this person? You know what I mean? Do you want to be the person that someone can't tell their stuff to because you're such a mess? It's time. You know what I mean? And that day was the last time I self-harmed. I didn't do it right after that. But that was the day I was like, I'm done with that. I'm done with all these unhealthy behaviors because how am I going to help anybody if I'm still, it was like hot mess was like my identity. And I'd left that identity behind that day or so I think. And that was, we're still friends to this day.
Wow.
Me and the girl. And she changed my life in that moment.
That's cool.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy how we talk about Bill Wilson's like bright light experience. And I didn't have that experience in that situation, but I've had some experiences like you're describing where just, oh my gosh, I just see the true for the faults and whatever.
Yeah.
I had my first car, like a $800 a Mitsubishi Eclipse 2-door. It was parked behind Yana and somebody broke into it when we were in a meeting one day and took all the quarters out of it and everything of value, my Fix-A-Flat can or whatever. And I came in, I was just livid. I was so mad. And I was like looking out in the parking lot. I was sitting there like playing like in the ghillie suit. Just I'm going to sit here. And I called my sponsor. And the first word out of his mouth was like, sounds like something you used to do. It was just like,
sponsors are so annoying.
It was so, I mean, one sentence. It was like, what would you want somebody to do? Just like, man, I sat down right there and prayed for the kid, the guy who took it, and hope he had everything he needed to get through the night and understood he probably not the life he wanted to live, that kind of thing. But it was just like, wow, forgive. And said, I wanted to be justified in this. Let's go get our quarters back. Like, how am I going to get a gallon of gas? Like, when I'm wrong, I want forgiveness. But when I'm wronged, I want justice. Like, but that was a big one for me. I still remember that. Like when something happens to me, it's, man, you know how many cars I've dinged? I was walking out in the parking lot the other day and somebody dinged my car and it was like, wow, but I'm mad. I don't want my car dinged. But at the same time, it was like, I play bumper cars in New Orleans. It was horrible. So
it's funny how quick to anger we can get. It's still in recovery. Like on my way here, literally. So I'm driving down Old Canton Road and there's this couple running, which is annoying. And I think both had 6 packs. I'm like, can you not in public? But anyways, and they're like halfway in the road and there's no sidewalk. This isn't a running area. And I was just so annoyed. I'm like, how dare you? Take your athleticism somewhere else. This is Old Canton Road.
Yeah. Place to be. It's Sunday. I know it's gorgeous out, but gosh, everybody needs to share the road.
Go run in your neighborhood.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably really nice. All the skinny rich people live.
Yeah. Getting those experiences and getting, okay, that's why I'm in the 12-step world, because otherwise I'm all on my own.
Yeah.
I'm going to learn the stuff from soaps or whatever, the nightly news, and I don't learn anything from that stuff. But like going to meetings and people tell me, hey, look out for these kind of things. This is what's going to be happening. And then have it happen. Wow, my attitude's changing. My outlook's changed. I'm like, I just changed a little bit.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. Because I'm not a better version of my former self. Like I'm not a cleaned up version. I'm becoming a different person. And that's
true.
That's the fun about it. Is like I get to be a different person, not just a cleaned up ex-con. Right. Like, oh, I'm doing something different. Oh, did you meet your husband's in the program? The whole 2 ding dongs make a bell thing, you went for it too?
Yeah. No. When you said ex-con and then you pointed at me, you're like, oh my God, my brothers.
But I get to do that with my wife. Like I never thought that that I could have a relationship that was healthy, period. Never mind somebody's in recovery.
Yeah.
And we have this thing that no matter what's going wrong, we get to fall back on that. Like the 12 steps, the service work, the working with others. That's amazing. Instead of finances or what we want to do with our lives, like we always have the program to fall back on. I never even dreamed that was going to happen.
Yeah. I didn't either. And I always talk about before I met my now husband, like the idea of marriage and all that kind of stuff freaked me out. Like it was just not something I was like interested in and just gave me anxiety to think about. And when I met him, it was like, I really have always known since I met him, like, that's my person. And the fact that he understands this thing that almost killed me and it almost killed him too. Yeah. Like we just have that bond together. And like, we're also able to hold each other accountable in ways that someone else wouldn't be able to. And then we're also, but that's like a balance. I can't control his recovery and he can't control mine. But when he is being mean, I do get to say, sounds like you need a meeting.
Yeah.
How long's it been?
Yeah. Are your sponsor? Yeah.
Well, it probably sucks to be with me. No, I'm just kidding. It's great. It's good. No, I love having that connection with them.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine like doing this life thing with anybody else.
Yeah. Was the opposite of addiction is not abstinence. The opposite of addiction is connection.
Yeah.
And to get to have that. Yeah.
God, when I first heard that, when I got into the program, I was like, give me drugs. I'll take that life. I don't want to connect with anybody.
Yeah.
I thought I was like this big like introvert that hated people because that was my mindset as that old person was like, it's me and Jax against the world. But I actually really like people. Like I didn't, and my husband, I didn't sign up for that. Introvert. But no, I do. I enjoy talking to people, and Briggs has a birthday party to go to today, and I'm not dreading it. You know what I mean? Like the old me would have dreaded because I would have walked in there thinking that nobody likes me and I don't fit in here and all that kind of stuff. But I don't have that fear anymore. I can walk into this place and not know anybody, and I may not belong there. I don't know, but I don't feel like I'm good and I can talk to anybody. It's not scary, and I might make friends and I might not. And it's just an experience. It's just an experience. And before it would be something I would just get me out of here. I used to like literally hide in the bathroom at Pump It Up. You ever been to Pump It Up?
Yeah. And the problem is that when we hide in the bathroom, we're normally in there doing something. We're either taking some drugs or some alcohol.
Yeah.
And like, when we come back out, I just turn into an ass.
Yeah.
Like whatever behavior I've been practicing just gets amplified. It's like I become more withdrawn or more out of touch with just, I've had so many of those situations blow up. I think I'm doing the right thing, but just, yeah.
It's funny you say that. Like I think about the last time I was in the bathroom at Pump It Up. Did y'all know we were going to talk about this today? And I was sober because I had gone to treatment in 2015 and stayed sober for 2.5 years. And so I was totally sober, but it was like I was saying about this place that I went in Austin. It taught me so many things. Like those were the things I hadn't learned my first time in treatment. You know what I mean? There was a lot of like self-knowledge I learned in treatment. I learned about the big book, but I didn't learn about these behavior changes and these like old ideals that needed a facelift. You know what I mean? And all of that like inner work. So it was like, that's a big difference. Like I was a sober person in 2016, hiding in bathrooms because I didn't want to talk to people. And I'm a sober person today in 2025 that's going to a birthday party and is not scared of that experience. You know what I mean? So it really does. You can go to treatment in different places, and it could be a 12-step based treatment center, but you can have completely different experiences. I don't know.
Yeah. Are you plugged in with any treatment centers around here? Seen any work that gets you excited?
I heard that Defining Wellness has new like leadership.
Yeah.
And the guy who runs that now is like a really legit guy. My friend Ruth Ann told me about him, and she really likes him, and anyone she likes, I like.
Yeah.
Which is the only reason I put up with Daniel.
Doesn't Ruth Ann work for a treatment center where everybody gets a lab?
Dude, Ruth Ann is, yeah.
Where's our lab?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's awesome.
She's incredible.
And then Bridge to Recovery. I really like what they do and what they stand for, the work that they do.
Yeah.
And so they're top notch in my opinion. I really like them.
Yeah, I just see a lot of treatment centers. I'm not going to just stay here for 30 days, get on this medication, sit tight. We're going to turn you loose. And if we can't find anywhere for you to go, then we're going to take you to a bus station. Kind of. I see a lot of that stuff over and over again.
So frustrating.
It really is frustrating.
Makes like my
what
blood
is that?
boil.
Yeah.
It feels like an injustice to even recommend that to anybody. And it drives me nuts. I wish more people would get it.
Yeah.
And get what it takes. Do you really care if these people go get sober? Do you really want these people to have a recovered life? Like, why are you giving them this like minimum of nothing and just saying good luck?
Yeah.
Like, you don't care. Do more. Do better.
Yeah. It's just really hard. It's such a big business. It's such a big business. And so I think there's a lot of good players that really do care, and there's a lot of nefarious players that are looking at crunching numbers.
I do too. And that's why it's important for us to know the good ones.
Yeah.
And support those good ones and send people to those good ones and just hope that the people can get there.
Yeah.
I like to know these things so that I don't accidentally send someone somewhere and say, give this a shot. And then they get there and this is what you wanted me to give a shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Give me a shot.
Yeah.
You know?
No kidding. Yeah.
So Jack's 16.
Yes. He'll be 16 in May.
Okay. You've got a birthday party to go to today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Life is good.
Life's good, man. Yeah. Dylan finally figured out how to crawl like a couple weeks ago. Now she's all over the place. She's got so many fat rolls. Yeah. Like, it's the best. Awesome. I'm so obsessed with her.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah. Recovery is good. It's amazing. You get to have a full life and people around us that love us. And I've got a lab. I love my lab. Didn't get it from Ruth Ann, but just a bit because life before was literally just shame and locked up and sleeping on pizza boxes and trying to find dirty, clean rigs, just horrible stuff. I know it was a long time ago, but still I can remember that. And it was comparing what it was like almost 20 years ago to what it's like today is just not even the same movie. It's not even the same book. It's completely different. And I tell you what, the past 2 days have been so beautiful. If you're not grateful for the weather, you're just being a jackass. It is like zero humidity, sunshiny. I'm sober. Perfect. I'm not hiding from the cops. I'm not worried about that. I pay my car insurance. There's my tag updated. Everything's good. Like life is really good.
Yeah. But just don't run on Old Canton. Okay.
I was actually biking earlier on Lakeland. Yeah.
Get out of here with that.
Yeah. Your rich neighborhood. I live in West Fondren. It's certainly not the rich neighborhood. Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on today. Yeah, I really appreciate your listening to episode 29.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to hearing what you had to share with us today. I hope that the treatment world stuff, if there's an opportunity or if we're redoing this grant or finding someplace else, hey, if y'all are in the treatment world looking for somebody like Brynn that can use her expertise, please reach out to us. Find her on Facebook. Hit us up, direct messages.
I paid him to say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Worth every penny.
She's not kidding. Thank you so much for that business. We appreciate that. All right, guys. Thank you so much for coming. You're incredible. Ladies and gentlemen, please and share, and we will see you next week. However, we'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
On the birth, honeymoon.